Welcome, everyone. Just a reminder that today we're going to be recording the first part of the group. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can save them for the discussion portion afterwards. Today we're going to be talking about children and chores. And I think the bigger thing here is teaching kids to contribute to the family household. Obviously, it's a really great skill for kids to have, and it means that they'll be able to take care of their own homes later. But also, it helps parents. It helps us not feel like we're doing it all on our own. And it helps us feel like they're learning something great about contributing to the larger good. And it's less work. So it's always helpful when kids take an interest in doing chores. And I want to remind everyone, as I do with most groups, that parenting and caregiver education is not one size fits all. So please keep in mind that this is just one idea, and ways and strategies that you can use to implement chores. You can take some of them, you can take all of them, but just finding a way to integrate it with your own personal values and beliefs is always really helpful. You don't have to take all of it at once. We're going to be looking today at 5 main ways that you can get your kids to complete chores. If we're looking at the age group of 0 to 6, and realistically, we're probably not going to start the chores till about 18 months, 2 years at the earliest. Getting kids to complete chores is more of a simple task. I understand they're not going to be doing big things, and they're not going to be doing those tasks very well. But the idea in these age groups is that we want to introduce them so that the concept of doing chores and contributing to the household is something that they learn from the very beginning, and so that it's not a power struggle as they get older to get them to contribute to the household, that it's just something that they have done their whole lives and they have no memory of it any other way. So the first one we're going to look at is to not call them chores. Most of us parents, that's the term we look at. Some suggestions are calling them responsibilities, ways to be helpful, or family contributions. As you can tell by my language so far, I'm a big fan of the family contributions one, and that's what I use with my children who are 3 and 5 years old. I think that even just the phrase has a more positive connotation with it. And it obviously conveys the message that what they're doing is a way to contribute to the larger family. We want them to do their part. So we want to emphasize that every family member has a responsibility to take care of themselves, one another, and the household. So no one is exempt from doing family contributions, chores, whatever you want to call them. And that's just what everyone has to do to be an active member of the household. And we want to focus on the contribution itself. Children are way more willing to help around the house when they view their tasks as a meaningful way to contribute. And we'll talk a little bit about thanking them for it later. So the second thing you want to do is to set a positive and cheerful tone. I can't stress enough how much modeling influences children. It's what they see us do, not always what we say. So remember to be setting a good example. If you whine about doing your responsibilities and contributions, your children likely will too. So when we're doing, it's hard to put a smile on our face while we're washing dishes or doing the laundry. But if you can talk about how fun it is, or turn it into a little game for yourself. I know for myself, sometimes I'll set a timer when I fold the laundry and see if I can do it all within the timer. And sure enough, without even asking my kids, they'll come over and they want to help because they think it's so funny that we're trying to beat the timer. My 3-year-old, even my 5-year-old, they're basically doing towels and anything that's square, and that's an easier thing for them to fold. But it's a great idea because there's no right or wrong way to fold something. And so I just sort of leave it as it is. And however they've chosen to do that, I usually get them to do their own clothes. It tends to work out quite well. So I think anything that you can do where you're showing how you do it yourself and that it's not, it doesn't feel like something negative to do, it's such a great way to model to them that chores are just things we have to do to keep a household going. Using humor, like I said with the timer idea, Most children respond better to humor and things that are fun. So using humor and pretend play while making a request usually means that they're more likely to do it. So saying something like, oh my gosh, look at this plant, it's so sick. Do you want to play plant doctor and help me treat all the plant patients? And then you get, kids love to water plants anyways. So you might get them a little watering can that they can go around the house and help water the plants. And after a while, they may take on that task themselves without needing to use any humor or even having to make the request. Giving positive feedback. I'll speak to this a few times, I know, but just even if the tasks don't get completed well, make sure that you acknowledge the effort, just that they even completed their task, that they did their family contribution for the day, or that they've done one of the 3 that they're supposed to do for that day. But any positive feedback of saying like, what a great effort that was. The first few times they water the plant, trust me, most of the water doesn't make it into the pot. But even saying, oh, that's such a great job, thanks for helping, let's go get a towel and wipe up the water on the floor. And they've learned now for next time that we're trying to get the water just in the pot, and here's what you do if you make a mistake. But we're still keeping it on the positive side rather than pointing out the aspect of how they helped and the aspect of it that wasn't done quite well. So the next one is to set reasonable expectations. So we want age appropriate chores. We want things that your child is capable of doing quite well without making a giant mess. And I'll get into that a little bit later with some ideas per age. Offering to help. If they're struggling, ask if there's anything that you can do to be helpful. It seems like you're having trouble getting started. Is there anything I can do to help? And supporting them. Completing the chore with your child for the first several times if necessary. And realistically, it will be necessary for many times. When we do even just cleaning up toys, which is sort of a regular expectation in our household, almost every time still, and my daughter's 5, I still have to do it with her a little bit. I'm hoping that one day it'll catch on and she'll just do it on her own. But there are times where she'll go into her room and do it completely by herself because my partner and I have gone in with her and shown her, okay, this is what we want to do when we tidy your room. This is what a tidy room looks like. And the next one is to create visuals. So the younger the child, the less likely they are to be able to read. So visuals provide an excellent way to give reminders and support young children who can't read. Chore charts are great. There are some that you can get online, and I know I purchased one a while back, and it was a magnetic one. So you could choose, I think it was like 10 chores and daily routines. So it included things like brushing teeth. So some of it was chores and some of it was like, you have to do this stuff every day. And then you got a little magnetic star every time you did it for that day. And I think you could, the chore chart would last about a week and then you'd have to replace it. The little magnetic pieces got lost within a few weeks. So I don't actually recommend buying the really fancy ones. What I found works even better is to have something that you could use electronically, something that's laminated, where you just use a whiteboard marker to check it off. Little parts and pieces aren't going to go very well with younger children. And so I think even just writing it on a piece of paper that you have at home and creating check marks when the chore gets complete, but adding some sort of visual in there is really important, whether the visual is right on the chart or somewhere else that they can look and see. And I have to say, if you just type in free printable chore charts, what you'll find pops up online there's so many different ones you can grab. So I don't recommend just one. I recommend getting whatever one suits your style and your need. If you do want to pay for a printable one, I know Etsy has some good ones that you can print out that has a lot of the visuals already done for you. But if you don't mind doing the work yourself, you can cut and paste from different free printable versions and put together whatever chart works for you. Instructions, I don't think this is a requirement, but some families ask about it. So step-by-step visual instructions for complicated tasks may be helpful as well. I think it just depends on the age of your child or their level of comprehension. If they're really having a hard time getting it, it might not just be, if folding the laundry is one of the tasks, it might not just be a picture of laundry, but it might be a few pictures showing what folding the laundry looks like. Offering choice. So let them choose. Choosing increases a child's willingness to help around the house. For example, do you want to take out the trash or do you want to sweep the kitchen? So they may have on their chore chart 6 different chores, and maybe the home rule is that as long as you do 3 of those a day. So if you have a child that likes power struggles, which are most children, I find that giving a choice decreases the power struggle. They're less focused on the fact that they're being asked to do something, and they're more focused on the fact that they have power and choice. They get to actually choose which one they'd rather do. Yes, some children will fight it anyways. And I usually like to say, for example, if we're doing a chore right before breakfast, I just say, you'll get your breakfast as soon as your chore gets done. If it's right before we were going to have some screen time, I'll say, you're going to get your screen time as soon as your chores get completed. So the understanding that they can't move on to the next task until the request has been fulfilled, then it's more likely that those things will actually get done. And we want to be consistent. If they know they're not going to get to move on to the next thing, the next few times you do it, they're less likely to put up a struggle and say, no, I don't want to do that. And an extra little bonus tip that's been thrown in throughout the rest of the presentation is just to offer praise and acknowledgement. Wow, this table was set so beautifully. You're the best table setter I've ever seen. I've used this one with my kids and they get so excited about setting the table to the point where I'm frustrated sometimes because I just want to set it myself. This dinner is delicious. Thank you for helping chop the mushrooms. Again, my kids, part of their family contributions is to help cook meals. I also find, as a side note, that they're way more likely to eat a meal that they took part in making. There's only so many things that they can do, though. I don't love when they make a giant mess, and I obviously don't want them using any knives or anything that's unsafe. So I find chopping things like mushrooms or healthy foods, it gets them interested in the healthy food, but it also helps, learning those skills and learning cooking skills. And it just gets them to contribute in some way. So I use those little plastic kids knives, and I find that that's more than enough for the mushrooms. Sometimes we use the butter knives. My older daughter is quite good with using that. We've done some training, and it's not likely to cut her. So then sometimes she helps cut things like cucumbers, carrots, stuff that we could throw into a salad, and it won't really matter if it's cut a certain way. So what are some ideas for chores? So if we're looking at 2 to 3 year olds, picking up toys, we obviously want to teach this as young as possible. My kids are going through a phase right now where they play with something and will not clean it up. And it's driving me a little wild. So I wish I had started this one a lot younger. I find that I'm only just making this a chore now, and it's harder for it to catch on. Throwing away the trash. My kids love to do that. And I don't know what's so exciting about it. Helping dust the house, putting clothes in the hamper. And like I said before, helping to cook and packing lunches. So if they do daycare or preschool, packing lunches is a really great idea because they get to help choose what goes in there, and thus they'll be more likely to eat it as well. So they're having their contribution, but they're also feeling like they're having a little bit of power in what they get to eat the next day. Or if you're doing it in the morning that day. So as they get a little bit older, we're looking at 4 to 6 years old. We want to keep the ones that they've been doing when they were younger, but then we want to start adding in more things that they may be more capable of doing. And again, I can't stress enough, they're not going to be great at doing it the first, second, or even 10th time they do it. But the more they do it, the more practice they get. So something like washing dishes, I've seen a lot of kids do that. And what I find is the first few times you need 4 or 5 towels surrounding the whole area. It's going to get soaked and there's going to be soap on everything, and you're going to have to rewash and re-rinse. But they love playing with water. They love playing with soap. And I'm just happy usually that the kids are willing to do that and make a contribution. What I found personally is that after a while, it just gets better and better, where at least the water and the soap stays in the sink, and I'm only having to rewash or re-rinse a few dishes. They can clean their own room, make their bed. I've started to notice that even a 3-year-old could probably start to do that. Feeding pets, watering plants. As I said before, folding laundry, helping put away their laundry. We might start to see the ability to do this as early as 3. When you grab groceries, helping put them away. Again, this one can start as early as 3. There's so many different chores, and every household is different. So it's hard, vacuuming is a great one that kids love to help with if you have carpets in your house. So if you need more ideas, it's quite easy just to Google search or go into something like Pinterest. And they have lots of ideas for chore charts as well as age appropriate chores. And we really want to make sure that it's something your child is capable of doing and capable of learning. So I'm less concerned with the age, and I'm more concerned just with what your child is physically and cognitively able to do. So if you need any additional support or you'd like some one-on-one support to go more into depth on this, or you find you're trying to implement it and you're having a lot of troubles, then please feel free to give us a call. You can make a referral and speak with one of our support workers. If you're already part of the program, then we can assign you to a support worker if you've never met with one before. So you can call our main office at 604-436-9449, or you can give our admin an email, and that's admin@camry.ca, and just let them know specifically what you're looking for. So thanks so much for joining us today.